right, welcome everybody to episode 33 of the Content Lab podcast. Today we're joined by David Su and Justin Tamane. It's the first time that David joined us on the podcast, so it's gonna be a good one. Justin's been here about three times probably in the past. So
Yep.
thank you guys for joining us.
Yeah,
And
thanks for having me.
thanks for having us.
Yeah, what are you guys doing right now? Where are you at?
I'm literally at home. I work from home, so yeah, I'm pretty much always here unless I have to go somewhere to do something.
Where's home?
Home is Toronto, Ontario, Canada.
Yeah, you're
So
pretty close, right, Justin?
Yeah, so I'm in Grimsby, which is probably 45 minutes from where David is.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so just outside of Toronto for me as well.
Heck yeah. So I figure like some things in the CrossFit space have been changing a little bit in the past, couple of months, or I guess in the last month, and a lot of people are confused, like they don't know what to do. And I figure like, hey, like it'll be cool if I can get two photographers, videographers, creators that are very established in the industry, and obviously like this is something that affects all of us in either in a positive way or in a negative way. So I figure it'll be cool to have you guys here and talk about a little bit. So main thing that I feel it's changing, it's they're going for a different way of like giving credentials, which in my opinion it's moving more into a professional sport, like moving forward type of way, which you only allow like main partners and press outlets, instead of kind of like giving passes to everybody. But I wanted to hear like y'all's opinions. Again, we haven't talked about this in private, so it's gonna be the first time I hear your opinion and any of this. But it'll be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little bit newer to the space than David. David was there in 2019. Carlos, you were there in 2019 as well, right?
Yes.
So David told me stories about seeing people in the press pits and the media pit that year who were just walking around with like GoPros and iPhones, and it was just like kids who had media passes, right, Dave?
yeah, I'm not really sure. They got media passes. I don't know like the route and how they got it.
Yeah,
But
but
it was
there
pretty much
there was
a free for
people
all.
with like a phone. Yeah, just like
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, my first year was in 2021, and I was a little bit removed from that. But I think that the sport is evolving, and they're trying to professionalize things and bring it back to kind of have a standard set within what is allowed and what is not allowed with regards to media policies. So, yeah, if you look at professional sports, baseball, golf, they have set media people in designated areas. Sponsors are heavily restricted with what you can put on, like with what you can and can't use. So CrossFit is going towards a bit more of a model like that, but at the same time, CrossFit has come from this kind of DIY, build your own brand, build your own identity place, especially within the affiliate system where they've said from the beginning, the strong will survive and that kind of thing. And so they've changed their media policy, not allowing as many creators to be in the designated media area, which is like kind of the direct field of play. So if you look at a CrossFit, we'll use the semifinal floor, for example. Last year, we were allowed on kind of either side of the floor on the long way, but not on the ends. So not near the start line and not near the finish line. At the games, it's kind of similar, but it's only one side. And it seems like this year for stands, they're allowing access with lenses up to 12 inches, which is, I think like a 70 to 200 will fit in that range, no problem.
But if we're talking about the stands, probably you need something longer than a 70 to 200.
Correct. Yeah. But I think at the semifinals this year, the stands are all, it's not like stadium seating. At least in North America, it's not stadium seating. It's constructed seating. So it is a little bit closer and it's a little bit different dimensions than if it was a hockey arena or something like it's been in the past.
Gotcha.
So CrossFit looks like they're trying to standardize how they're allowing media into the media pits and last year, for example, at the games or at Wadapalooza this year, anybody who applied who was a athlete photographer. So if, I work with Patrick Vellner, I put Patrick Vellner's name down. I was allowed a media access in the same areas as CrossFit Media for the most part, because I was covering Patrick Vellner.
Mhm.
Well, this year at semifinals, there's 120 individual athletes and another 40 teams, something like that, 30 teams, 40 teams, something like that. So, that's the potential for there to be 160 different creators in the media areas. And it seems like CrossFit is trying to restrict having that type of that number of people within those direct media areas.
Yeah. What are your thoughts, David?
Yeah, it's hard to say because I've been shooting from the stands like since I started. So, I mean, like I went to the games at Carson in 2016 with like my NEX5, which is like the first mirrorless Sony camera, and I was fine with that, So, I mean, I didn't take photography as serious as now, but I mean, even the first Waterpaloozas I went to, I shot from the stands, and um, to me, like it hasn't usually been like, hey, I want to be a part of the media pool or I need some type of special access. I just wanted to make sure, like, actually, to be honest, I just didn't want to pay for a ticket, right? So I just wanted to have a media pass so I can go in for the whole weekend and then just, you know, tell the story from my perspective, and that's it. Like I never wanted to be like, hey, I'm official media, or this is like part of like uh the pool of content that's out there. Like if like a lot of people didn't see my stuff in the beginning, and I was okay with it. I just wanted to like display something from my perspective. So these restrictions actually aren't really surprising. I think before 2019 it was pretty restrictive too as well, from what
Mhm.
I gather, but I didn't go to the games before 2019 as an official media person. So
Yeah. No, I mean, I was expecting it. Obviously, it kind of sucks for a lot of people because, a lot of people got involved and they're like, oh, like I want to go to the games this year. I want to do semifinals, and they had like these plans. I know I was talking to one of the guys from Europe and he was telling me he had this plan of like making this like little short doc series of like one of the teams. And now like he doesn't have access anymore to any of that. So at
is that
that point,
Eric?
no.
It's not Eric.
Eric who?
One RM.
No, no,
Okay.
another
All right.
one. And so in that point of like it sucks because you're restricting people to do like they had plans with brands like, hey, I'm gonna go to Pasadena, and you're paying a ticket, and then it's like, hey, you can't go anymore because you don't we're not gonna need you anymore. So on that point, like I get it, like it sucks, but as I said, like I think I was expecting all these changes. It seems like the sport's moving forward into they're trying to make it more more professional. Also, like if they have a sponsor paying a lot of money, I feel like they should have for sure like some sort of priority when it comes to having their media people there instead of like they're gonna be sharing the floor with everybody else, another 100 people. So like I see the both sides. I see like the going more professional, and also like I feel bad for some people I won't be able to go anymore. I mean, I'm still I don't know, I'm not 100% sure if I'm gonna go to the semifinals, but at the same time, like it's expected, and I think we'll get used to it for sure, and we'll find our ways to like, hey, it's a different path that we have to take to be able to shoot this or do something different.
Yeah, with regards to shooting the dock and all that kind of stuff, the access that we had as media people was never to like the back areas and the warm up area, things like that. So I don't think that was something I ever expected to have access to with having a media pass. And for creators who might be doing this their first time this year or shot from the stands last year and we're looking to do a little bit more, um, a lot of the if you were on the floor last year at semifinals, the access was pretty decent, but you could never go into the athlete warm-up areas. You couldn't interview people in there. You couldn't get content in those areas. So if you're going to shoot those types of things, and with the restrictions that we even had last year with regards to content, shooting from the stands is almost, I don't want to say better, but you have just the same access. And if you're shooting a documentary about people and they're aware of that, you'll have access to them.
Yeah.
You'll be able to pull them aside between events. And, if you're needing to interview the coach of the team or some of the athletes, like, and they know that you're doing this, they're going to come in and interact with you, or
Mhm.
they don't want to talk to you and they're going to go and hide anyways. So it's kind of the same. You're going to have the same access to them. You just can't do it in the like underground of the venue or in the warm-up area.
Yeah, I think what hurts the most is what hurts our industry the most is that brands are really not gonna need a media person anymore. First, because they can post, they can use any of that. Like for example,
Yeah.
if I don't know, X brand hired me to shoot the games, and then they're
Mhm.
like, "Hey, you don't get a pass to go to the games, and also we can give you access to the stands, but you you don't have permission to share the photos with your brand, and obviously the brand cannot post the photos, so they're gonna be like, hey, listen, like I get it, you can take some photos from the stands, but we cannot use them. Like that's it,
Yeah.
like at the end, there's gonna be less jobs for creators. Again, it's not like I'm like complaining, like, oh, but it was gonna happen eventually. But yeah, it's gonna
Yeah.
it's gonna hurt some people for sure.
The days of like free access for sponsors is
Hmm.
going away. And that was, from my guess, that's to the interest of CrossFit. Like, they have people paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to have exclusive access. I think that those companies want that exclusive access.
Yeah.
So
What'll be interesting is gonna be like what's gonna be the line, like who's gonna be like, oh yeah, like you guys are allowed and you guys are not allowed. Why are they allowed? Because it's such a new system that I
mhm.
feel like some people are gonna be like, hey, but why are they here? Why am I not there? Because it's like, I don't know. It'll be interesting. It'll be
Yeah,
interesting to see what happens, but I mean, we'll see.
this is like, what, we're a week out from the first week of semifinals.
Yeah. Are you
So
are you guys going to Orlando?
I'll be there. Yeah.
Yeah. I have a wedding that weekend, so won't be there, but hopefully I'll be Pasadena. Are you guys going to that one too?
I'm not going to Pasadena. No, I'll be in Berlin.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, what were you gonna say?
David?
No,
Me?
you.
Oh, no, I didn't say anything.
Oh,
Justin was saying something.
no, I just think that this system, um, it creates a lot of different limitations, but I don't think anything really changes for up and coming creators and how they need to still network and still help grow their, I don't even want to say their following, because I don't think their following matters. I think it's more that their connections and how they
Mhm.
work with people and how they treat people, that's more important.
Yeah, no, 100%. And Rika says it's gonna hurt some people, but those media passes and the media demands need to be filled. I think a new system's coming, things will change, but there'll still be opportunities. And that's, I mean, 100% true. There's
Mhm.
still going to be opportunities. And like, as you said, like up and coming creators, like they can still find, good jobs like the semifinals of games. I mean, there's still brands. I mean, we're talking about how many brands are main sponsors, like 10.
Yeah.
Now, press outlets get passes too. um, I think some agencies are getting passes. So it's like, I mean, things are still gonna move forward. They're just gonna find that system, and we're gonna adapt to that. And it's
Yeah.
gonna be, I think, at the end of the day, it's probably gonna be much better for all of us because, first of all, like creators are gonna be more valuable because it's gonna be like, hey, like now there's not too many of us or too many people that can do this. So like I don't think too many people are gonna be choosing the, oh yeah, I'll do it for free. So I just think the standard is gonna get a little higher when it comes to like creators that are gonna be doing some sort of photography or videography work. And yeah, like overall it's just gonna be, I think at some point most of the time it was very crowded too. for it
Yeah.
was very saturated. So I feel like it'll just get overall just gonna be a better experience for everybody. We're just gonna adapt and move forward with that.
Yeah. What you're saying about it being really crowded and oversaturated is right. Like there were times when I saw pictures from the semifinals last year where like I had sent the like I'd just seen it on somebody's page or whatever, and I was like, I took almost that exact picture of that exact person from that position. And there was a lot of that last year, especially in the semifinals, a little bit less in the games because it's a little bit more spread out. But I remember I did it last week where I sent something to David. I was like, hey, is this yours? And he's like, no, I wasn't
Yeah.
there. And it was just like, I sent it to him because I didn't know if he or why he didn't get credit for it, but it wasn't his, so it didn't matter. But I was like, I swear I've seen this photo from you at some point. And I mean, it
It was
wasn't that
similar.
it was
Yeah.
similar, right? But
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
I
and
barely shot the games last year. The last 2 years, I barely shot the games. Like I barely like showed up in the arenas and stuff like that. I looked at the pit. I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna stand there. So I
Yeah.
just find a empty seat in the stands, and yeah.
but you didn't shoot well. I mean, you were
I
on
also had a
specific
good,
assignment too.
yeah. I also had to shadow specific people, so I actually never had event coverage duties for the
So
last 2 years. Yeah,
Yeah.
which I was happy about.
and that's another thing I feel like CrossFit Media needs to nail down a little more. I mean, like us overall as creators, like I feel like there's a lot of people that same thing. They get a pass to shoot like specific athletes, and then they shoot everybody, and that just again that's another reason why the pit gets saturated because like your athletes on heat 3 but you're shooting heat 1 2 random athletes, and then people are actually hired to shoot those athletes. They might not get even the shot because some more people are there. And I think that's one of the reasons why Cross is making these changes, because it's like, hey,
Mhm.
there is a lot of people that are trying to do their job. They're they go there and they follow their assignment, but there's a lot of people that are not following the assignment. The pit is getting oversaturated. We need to make some changes, and I think that's one of the reasons why things are moving that way.
Yeah, somebody told me yesterday that in Europe they were already instructed like, hey, you're only in the pit during your athlete's heat or whatever it is. So if they're covering, heat 2, lane 5, they're only allowed in for that athlete, and then once that athlete's done, they're out. Or if it's for an agency, it's 2 athletes in this one, 2 in that one, whatever, but they're only allowed in for their segment.
Oh wow, that's nice.
So that'll make some
Yeah.
changes too.
Yeah. So the press getting passes, like I get it, because in sports like NFL stuff like that, press outlets get passes, but for cross it's gonna be tough because a lot of those press companies don't have enough funds to pay their creators, right? Because a lot of them are new.
Yeah.
CrossFit is a newer sport, so it's gonna be interesting to see how that evolves. But at the same time, like press, like it's easier for press to find sponsors, to like sponsor their articles or their, I don't know. We'll see.
It-
Again, this is all new for me too, so I don't know how it's gonna work.
yeah, you're right. Like that's a different system, but I think that comes down to like, are the sponsor or the press organizations able to pay their creators an appropriate wage, or are they just going to be, you know, people looking for passes, so they're just going to offer it up for free?
Yeah.
That's where it's going to be tough. Is if we're all trying to grow this industry, then everybody kind of needs to be on the same page. But I realize too that a lot of people got a foot in the door by working for free and doing different
Yep.
um, assignments for no charge. And I don't disagree with that. Like, you need to build your portfolio somehow, but
Absolutely.
it's going to make it really hard if content not content creators, but if creators are doing it for free, and if the expectation is that they're doing it for free from the provider, that's where
Yep.
we're going to have problems. And we see that already.
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully this just can help elevate the industry a little more. which I think it will.
Yeah, I think it will, and I think it'll take a little bit of time to adjust, and the semifinals are a bit of an adjustment. I
Hmm.
mean, it is a little bit tricky because they only informed people like 2, 3 weeks before the first week.
That's another thing. Like this changes. I don't think it was either like it wasn't even announced. It was just like whenever they released the pass, it's like, hey, yeah, we're
Yeah,
only this allowed. So it's like, I mean, I bought my plane ticket expecting, you know, to work for a brand like months ago,
yeah,
and then they were like, hey, listen, like, cannot. It's probably not gonna work out. I'm like, no, I get it, but you know,
yeah, and I totally understand that from the brand standpoint,
yeah,
but that
yeah, one hundred
it
percent.
it puts the creators in a weird position, and some people I know paid for tickets and hotels and need to be refunded for that, and some of that isn't refundable by the airlines or by the hotel. So
Yeah, my only complaint will be that I think there should be a better communication when it comes to first like media passes like being accepted like a week before. I know at the games like a lot of us were approved like a week or two before the games. It's like, hey,
yeah,
you know, like we gotta make plans. So I think better communication with that, like um also better communication with like, hey, this is what we're gonna allow, this is what we're not gonna allow,
yeah,
right? So we can plan. Other than that, I mean, it's just things that it seems like moving forward.
yeah, yeah, I fully agree.
David, are you doing what are you doing this year? Are you gonna be um doing your thing with
So I just recently found out I'll just be shooting for Noble at semis
oh sick.
and in the games too as well. I started working more like intimately with them last year. So yeah, I think I'm just going to be one of their shooters, but I have a primary focus on ensuring Emma Lawson has her content first. So they're allowing me to focus on that
Yeah,
first.
well, it helps too that
Yeah.
she's a noble athlete. So
Right. Yeah. If she wasn't one of their athletes, I don't think I would have this opportunity, to be honest.
yeah,
Yeah, David's got the highest level of clearance.
yeah. Dude, it's gonna be fun this year to see Emma, Mal. Like it just it's crazy. Like the younger generation, just how you know how old is Emma? Maybe like 19.
No, not even. Yeah.
Oh no, she was. Yeah, she
She
was
just
still in
literally
the.
turned 18 in January.
Yeah,
Yeah.
crazy.
She's still
Yeah.
in high school, right?
Yeah. She's in high school. Yeah. She might even be in class right now.
That's fun. All right, 23 minutes in. Let's switch it up into let's talk more about like tips, tricks, anything that you know can hopefully help people that this is going to be the first time going to maybe semifinals, first time going to the games, or just getting started overall. I want to start it with David, since you're probably the one that has the most experience out of all of us when it comes to uh, overall content creation and CrossFit. Like, I just want you to give me like a little rundown, like how things got started for you. When was the first time you found like passion for photography? How do you get started? How do you find CrossFit? And you know, and everybody that's listening, if you have any questions for either David, Justin, or myself, put them on the chat right there, and we'll answer them.
So I got started a while back, just shooting from an iPhone and wanted the quality to get a little bit better, elevated to a camera, the next camera I could afford. And then it just kept moving from different camera body to camera body. My exposure to like sports and CrossFit hasn't been like a um, original story because I wasn't an athlete and stuff like that. I know Justin was a baseball player. He was a regional level CrossFit athlete. For me, I got exposed to CrossFit doing bootleg CrossFit at a global gym. And I thought I was, fit. I did bodybuilding and stuff like that. Those type of like exercises. Then someone was doing some type of version of CrossFit at the global gym. Asked if I wanted to jump in. Got destroyed, and then I just got hooked from there. And then I just went down the rabbit hole of like YouTubing, Googling, looking up everything. I don't even think Instagram existed back then, and just trying to find out what CrossFit was all about. I remember watching all the old CrossFit videos with Camille LeBlanc Bazinet, watching Team Red versus Black for Rogue, all those type of. Justin probably remembers all that stuff too as
Yeah,
well.
I
Man,
remember.
Yeah,
wasn't it Rogue against Again Faster?
Yes, yeah,
That was
again faster, yeah.
yeah, that was the one for me that was like, this is cool. Like we need to bring that back.
Yeah.
You know, how cool, I mean, it would be hard to do now with sponsors and everything like that, but how cool would it be to do something like that? Everybody's away for a week, do a competition series, you know, it doesn't something that's like engaging like that, this team versus that team, or you know, make the international event or the what was it? The team challenge, like a week long thing. Film it, put it online, make a documentary about it again. Because that's what got me into CrossFit. You
Yeah,
know, that's how I
Yeah.
found it.
It was a different culture, I think, at that time.
for
Like I
sure.
remember who were the top two people that they were talking about that were females. It was like LeBlanc Bazinet versus Oldroyd, right? Miranda Alcaraz now. So that was like kind of the two people that everyone kept trying to pit against each other, and they even did something like that in terms of workouts and stuff. So that was kind of cool. Yeah, for me, I've always been just trying to like illustrate the sport from my perspective. And to tie it back to like what you guys were talking about before, I think yeah, change might suck for certain individuals and stuff like that, but I think we need a culture shift in terms of how like brands and events and even things like the Olympics um, expose and illustrate the sport, because it's a very old school way of thinking right now. Like I get it, like you gotta, it's a pay to play model. So if you want to have media coverage, you got to be a sponsor, which would grant you that privilege. But there needs to be a culture shift in terms of the way you know narrate the sport. And I think having individual voices narrate the sport is more powerful than a controlled aspect, which is what the ecosystem of sport in general is using, right? So case in point, like media journalists versus bloggers. Let's go even further back, bloggers, right? People writing blogs. Like this stuff didn't exist back then. It was just basically newspaper, TV, radio, whatever, right? So, and then all of a sudden the internet came, and then people were just telling or talking about fashion shows, whatever, from a blog perspective, and they were doing it so fast and with a different lens and perspective that it just became something that was just something they couldn't stop, right? And it just helped them, but they didn't realize it at first. They fought it, but later on they realized like having individual voices and ways of illustrating like their property actually helped them, because the more people chatting about your brand, the better, even if it's
Yep.
negative, right? So there needs to be a culture shift in terms of the way people think about that. And if there is a culture shift, I think the power will go back to individuals like us, because we each have a unique style and way of narrating the sport. You definitely tell it from a different lens than I do, and so does Justin. And I think the reason why people are aware of our work is because they can identify with that, or they may think it's a little refreshing than the narrated
Absolutely.
voice coming out in a general sense, right?
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with that. That's a good point too. Yeah, I didn't look at it that way when it comes to like, yeah, some of the things that have been done in the past is like very old school. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I was gonna say like um, you have a very authentic way of like telling your story. Like Justin has, like we all have like different ways to like take our photos, edits, everything like that. And that's as you said, like I feel like people find it refreshing. Like if you see most of the sport, like when you see the photos are like Getty photos, it's like very very similar type of photography. I feel like one of the reasons why CrossFit got so like attractive for people on social media, it's because of that like refreshing, like, oh look, like the way they're taking the photos is like completely different that you see on other sports. Like you have different styles, you have different focal lengths, like more some people get into more of like the trendy aspect of social media. So yeah, definitely it's like I can see it definitely being like something very refreshing for people, especially people who follow sports. Even somebody that doesn't care about CrossFit, they just really like the way that some creators were, telling a story.
Yeah. I mean, sorry, I know you're about to say something,
No, you're
Justin.
good. You're good.
I was just gonna say like there's a difference between documenting something and illustrating something, right? So I'm not interested in documenting something. I'm not interested in documenting Justin Tamane appearing at the CrossFit semifinals. Like someone else can do that. I'm just not, no, I mean, like, I'm not interested in like, I'm not there for a documentarian purpose. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's going to be covered by someone else who's been assigned that, right? I guess, right? I'm more interested in like, Carlos, I want you to be there because I like the unique way that you capture and tell our story. Carlos is invited as a tastemaker in that regard, right? Or Justin is invited to illustrate that story because we have it. I always bring it back to fashion because fashion is one of my interests too as well. And whenever you have like a fashion label say, hey, we've decided to have a new art director, it's because they value that person's like what they can bring to the table, right? And
Yeah.
it's not because, oh, we can get Virgil Abloh to document like Louis Vuitton. That's not the way it works. Like,
Hmm.
yeah.
I think what you're saying is very like much why people are as popular as they are now in terms of like popular culture. You know, like who is the most recognizable face in popular culture right now? It's probably like Logan Paul or one of the Paul brothers, right? And they started off
In the
by
States, yeah.
yeah, sorry, in the States. Yeah, they start off by just filming themselves
Yeah.
and putting themselves out there and
I
it's
mean, Mr.
there.
Beast could be,
Oh yeah,
yeah,
sorry, Mr. Beast. Like he just started doing things his way
YouTube,
and
yeah.
it exploded. And you know, all of these channels of like Twitch streaming and things like that, they're as popular as they are. And sometimes they get more views than the actual video does. Like their reaction to, let's just say, them watching a video game gets more interactions than people actually playing the game. It's people want that viewpoint. Um, like in the sports world, Pat McAfee. Do you guys ever watch Pat McAfee? He used to be a kicker in the NFL and he started his own YouTube sports show. And it became, you know, he's in a $200+ million deal with FanDuel right now as a sponsor for this
Wow.
YouTube sports show that runs for whatever 3 hours a day. And these types of things are taking over to the point where now major organizations are going, wait, we need help. We need those eyes. And there's rumors about Pat McAfee leaving his deal to go back or to go with ESPN, who in the beginning was like, nah, get out of here. You know, Logan Paul is with the WWE,
Yep.
$1 billion organization, and he's helping with the marketing for the WWE.
Wow. Yeah.
You know, like this kind of stuff is happening because they started something themselves, they built their perspective, and now these organizations, these traditional forms of media are trying to catch up
Yeah.
and they don't know how to do it because everything's changing so quickly.
Would you guys say that CrossFit has become more popular when it comes to like just I mean, general population since 2019 when more people were allowed to be on the floor?
I would say so. I don't know from a creativity standpoint and the amount of creators that, yeah, it's exponentially increased. Um, from a sport aspect in terms of the brand, I don't know. I have no pulse on that.
Yeah.
I don't know from the brand, but I know that there's people out there who are wanting more content and wanting to see the stories. Like,
Mhm.
you know, the content that Mayhem and Proven and HWPO are putting out for their camps gets hundreds of thousands of views.
Mm.
You know, if you look at what those companies are all telling, what stories they're telling, yeah, they're telling stories about their athletes, but they're telling athlete stories that people are interested in.
Yeah.
And that helps to grow the sport and to grow engagement across the board. If those types of things exist, then, you know, yeah, HWPO is going to sell programming and Mayhem or whatever, Proven's going to sell programming. But, you know, somebody who's wanting to get fit, who just stumbled upon this YouTube channel because their algorithm gave it to them, may go into CrossFit gym for the first time.
Yeah, it's crazy how popular CrossFit is on social media. Like you see some of the best like golfers in the world, they have like, I don't know, 60, 70,000 followers.
Yeah,
And then like mostly every CrossFit athlete has, CrossFit athlete that are in the top tier, they have, I don't know, hundred
hundreds.
thousand, yeah, hundred
Yeah,
thousand plus followers. I think it's a very attractive sport to follow on social media. Like people don't even care about the sport, but they just, they find that whatever the movements they do cool. Maybe some of the athletes like attractive, and I mean that's really good marketing too. Like somebody random posting a video that gets millions of views, like that's just free marketing for the brand that that person is using.
yeah. And there's authenticity in the CrossFit ecosystem. You know, like when someone posts them working out that day, it's like an authentic piece of their day and working out and that part of their life, where like it's not just ad, which you might get from a professional athlete that's, got five sponsors and that's all they do is just post those to fulfill their obligations because they make $10 million a year and they don't care about social media.
Yeah.
What Carlos, what do you think about athletes who are trying to build their brand? Do you think that it exists, or are you seeing it in other professional sports? Like you've done a lot of work in golf in the last right? In the last year or so. Are you seeing more of it?
I mean, yes, and I think it's smart too because if you think about like the lifespan of an athlete, like in CrossFit, of course you have the masters and stuff like that, but if we're being realistic, by the time like you're 33, 32, you're probably not gonna be, or I mean, probably there's some people outside of that range, but you're probably not gonna be making a lot of money when it comes to the actual sport. So I
Hmm.
feel like a lot of them build a brand just to like thinking of the future. Like, I mean, probably I think the first one that did something like that was Marcus Philly. Whenever he started like being a lot more active on social media, obviously like the dude is jacked and everything, but he took a different path with like his training, and he built his brand, and he used that to create like his training program, right? So I feel like a lot of athletes think about that too. They're like, hey, I'm 26 right now. I'll probably have another, hopefully 7 years in the sport. Like, I don't want to push it past that. What's my plan after this? Like I've been doing this since I'm 20. I
Hmm.
don't. This is my life. It's CrossFit. So I feel like, that's something they have in mind. Like, hey, I'm gonna build my brand as like not only as an athlete but also as like myself, and then they can take different paths, either building a program or just doing something different.
Yeah.
um but yeah, in our sports they do the same thing. Like I see it like they obviously like some of them want to be like more of a mentorship type of deal, coaches, training programs. It just kind of, I think it's a smart thing to do. Obviously it might take some from like training, like when you see a lot of them like focused a lot more on their, on like doing stuff outside of training, but at the same time I don't think they care that much. Like if you think about Matt Fraser, whenever he won 5 times, like he was probably never on social media because that was like his main goal. He's like, i'm just
Yeah.
gonna I'm just gonna do this, and I know I can win it, right? I know I can win next year. Probably most of the people are trying to build more of a social media brand to turn into something. They're in like the top 10, top 20, that they're like, I think it's smarter, or I think it's smart if I take some time into doing both.
Yeah. David, what do you think about growing your brand as a professional athlete?
I think it's important. I mean, I think Matt, I feel like Matt started a little late, but he didn't have to worry about those things because he just kept winning. So the attention was always on him. But yeah,
Exactly.
I feel like if you're an emerging athlete, if there's some attention on you, you should definitely start thinking about building your brand.
And also helps with the
Um,
deals that you're gonna get.
yeah, so I think the general old school marketing rule is the more eyeballs on you, then the more you can demand in terms of money and sponsorship dollars. So yeah, you could get injured like in a day or so. So that could be the end of your career. So the last thing you want to do is be like, okay, now I'm going to build my brand now, but build your brand on what at that point, right? So yeah, you should. as an athlete, if I were to make any recommendation to any athlete that's, thinking about starting something like that, like find yourself like your own voice, and find your favorite content creator, and hit him or her, and start something up, get a plan going.
David, I have a question for you. How
Sure.
about creators building their own brand?
Yeah, that's equally important because I think any of this stuff, even the platforms we're on, can be taken away at any moment. Look what Elon Musk did to Twitter. So, um, you know what? You just don't know what's going to happen. So I think all of us are in a different type of uh, how should I put this? All of us here are aware of this concern, and we've all decided to build our own brand, which is really refreshing to see,
Mhm.
because I see a lot of content creators that, I know they're, or maybe they just want to be just simply the person behind the camera and they don't want to be seen at all. But I feel like um, the way that social media is treating our content with the algorithms is it's prioritizing the content over the creator, which is what I don't really like at this point. So you got to start working on building yourself and your own brand, whether you're in a group of people or you're an individual, because it's important too as well.
I agree.
I think Carlos was the one that motivated me the most to start putting myself on my page a little bit more often. You had a podcast with, was it Anthony?
Was it on my podcast
Yeah,
or?
your podcast.
Oh, I don't know.
It was one live podcast of the content lab that I tuned into. Not one, but it was one of them. Anthony, who did
The one.
Thor's? No, it wasn't the one. I've tuned in a bunch, but Thor. Who did Thor's YouTube?
Thor's. Oh yeah, yeah. Anthony
Yeah,
Claydo.
yeah. You were talking to him a lot about building your own brand as a creator and putting yourself in front of the camera a little bit more, and what that did for you. And that motivated me to start doing some things and brainstorming some things.
Yeah, and it's funny because when you say Anthony, when you said Anthony, I'm like he might have gotten some things confused there, because actually the first person that told me that was Anthony Tom.
Okay.
We were talking, we were at dinner one time, and he's like, "Hey, dude, I really think that you should put yourself," because before it was like just everything was Bound Media brand, like nobody knew like my face or
Mhm.
anything. We're talking about that was probably in 2020, I think 2019. I don't know. It was a long time ago. And he's like, I think you should put yourself more like out there. Like that's how you're gonna get jobs. Like if people like get to know you and they get to see like who you are and like they get to interact with you. Like right now, they just think they're if they hire you, they think they're gonna be hiring a brand.
Yeah.
And that's how you like really connect with people. Like when you're more like you, I'm like, huh, interesting. I'm gonna try it. And I mean, at the end of the day, like that's what works for me. I think a lot of the brands that I work with, they like to work with me because of like who I am, and like they like my work. Of
Yeah.
course, if not, they wouldn't hire me. But they also enjoy working with me because of who like what I bring to the table as a not only as a artist when it comes to like my photography and videography, but also as like just the way I interact with everybody. So I think for newer creators, I tell them all the time, like it depends on the approach you want to take. If you want to take more of the approach of like, hey, you just don't want to be attached to your brand, just want to be like you want to be a full brand, which I know some people do that and they do it very well. Or you want to be more of like, hey, this is Carlos the videographer, Carlos the photographer.
Mhm.
I think David does a little bit of both. He has his David Sue and training day, and he like moves it around very well. So you can also take that approach.
Yeah. And it's annoying because David posts really good stuff on his David Sue page. And is that a private page?
I go back and forth based upon how emo I get. So I don't know. Like I just don't want to annoy people with my other interests because I don't live and breathe CrossFit. Um, so yeah, so I have other stupid things I do, and I just want to separate it so I don't lose followers.
Peter
Yeah,
says David's.
I read that.
Dude, I was thinking the same thing. Like when I was looking at you, I feel like you were moving back and forth.
It's
Oh
real.
wow, that was very far. It looked like you were like
Yeah.
oh gosh. All right, we
That's
got
awesome.
Marius. Have you guys met Marius? Dude, is super cool. I
Yeah.
met him at Wadapalooza.
Yes. Yeah. I was
I
just
don't
So,
think
talking to him
so.
about going to Berlin.
what are challenges you often encounter while creating? What helps you overcome them?
Oh man. From
Ye-
what perspective though? Like,
I mean, me personally, I'm gonna answer. Hopefully, not too long, but challenges. Ooh, wait,
oh,
can you guys still hear me?
I can
we
hear
lost
you.
our
Can't see
host.
you.
Okay, yeah, yeah. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna just put my normal camera. Um, Justin, just answer and we'll fix this.
For me, I tend to get in my own way. I think I overthink and overanalyze and sometimes I will edit something to death and then I need to sit on it before I actually post it. I don't I think that's something that I struggle with is just not letting myself kind of finish something and then put it out there. I'll finish something, put it out there, potentially go back, fix it again, do it again, and then it's already out there. So I'm just editing it to edit it at this point, and nobody will ever see it. I think I get in my own way, um, and I think I get in my own way with overthinking um, some of the things that
I'm
you
back.
know. There we go.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
I get in my own way with overthinking what other people will think. Um, you know, I think I need to post certain things and just leave it. Um, Sometimes I'm worried that everything is not cohesive enough, and I'll post something and then be like, "Ah, that didn't do well. It must not be XYZ thing." But I think that the way that Instagram is operating right now, I'm relying too heavily on um, Instagram to be what I want it to be and not what it is. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
You know?
I mean, I didn't hear the first part. I was fixing the camera, but yeah, the
Oh,
last part. I mean, it does make sense.
I just get in my own way is pretty
Yeah,
much it. And
yeah.
that's the biggest thing is I get in my own way and overthink things and then overanalyze things that probably don't matter. Um, and I was saying that near the end that yeah, Instagram uh, because of the changes in Instagram, like I want it to be a certain thing and I get frustrated when it isn't a certain way. And it's just accepting what it is and leaving Instagram as a front facing form of a portfolio that will potentially put people to my website or different avenues.
Mm.
And I think I need to rely less on Instagram as a platform if I want to grow as a creator.
Yeah. Yeah, I can talk. I mean, my own personal experience right now. I mean, challenges, that's something that we all, obviously, we all have all the time. Um, but me personally, right now, I feel like I'm in a stage which is it's not burnout, but it's like I did so much of it for a period of time that I wasn't okay. So I'm gonna backtrack a little bit. So I spent 11 days, like 10 days at HOPO in Vermont, right? And pretty much everything that you do when a brand hires you, again, this is not saying anything bad about them. It's just a job. So I had to do a lot of assignments that I didn't have any control creatively about anything, right? Like, hey, you gotta do this. They want the videos edited this way, which I'm totally cool with it. It's their brand, it's their style, right? But at the end of the day, like it's nothing that I felt like I was being me as a creator, like fully taking control of my own creativity.
Mhm.
It's more of like, hey, this is the assignment that you have to do for the brand. And I mean, I loved it. I had a great time, but at the same time, I just didn't feel at any point that I'm like, oh, I'm being fully creative, being fully myself. So the moment I got back from that trip, it just kind of like, dude, it took me like a week or two to like completely reset and be like, bring it back to like, hey, like, I want to start doing some creative stuff too. Some things that helped me overcome that is just, again, just go back and do things that you like doing, even if it's for like not for any sort of money. Just go and hang out with a friend, be like, hey, can I just take some photos of you with a like, and just do some cool videos, and like just kind of like reset your creativity. um
Mhm.
you don't always have to be like, oh, if it's not for money, I'm not gonna do it. At the end of the day, like, that's how we got started, because we were passionate about doing creative stuff. But yeah, that's the challenge right now. Like, when I do too much of the same thing without me having full control of the creativity, I get into like again, it's not burnout, but it's very similar feeling of like, like, what am I even doing? It's like everything's just automatic.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should always do that. You should always just shoot for yourself. I mean, that's why you decided to pick up a camera in the first place, right? Whether or not you decide to do events or CrossFit.
How about you, David? What are some challenges?
Uh, I don't know. I was really thinking about this while Justin was answering this. Uh, Challenges.
David, it's
I don't
like, I
really.
got no
No,
challenges.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
know. This guy is just like, yeah,
I'm just not
just nail
prepared.
everything.
I'm such a go with the flow type of person. Like, I guess my challenge is when I walk into like an arena or something, I'm like, okay, what am I gonna do? Like, I have no game plan, and I kind of just wing it. I'll even, if I have the ability to have a little bit of freedom while on shooting like a heat and stuff, if I see a particular type of if I see an athlete I'm not familiar with, and I think that athlete is really cool, like looks great, looks doing some cool stuff or performing well, I'll actually start shooting that person, even though I'm not assigned to do that or whatever. Um, but that's not answering your question. Challenges, I guess managing time, because sometimes I just focus too much on one thing, not realizing I think I should just mix it up by changing perspectives and moving around. And sometimes I get a little too excited when I get onto the floor or shoot someone that I forget, like, you gotta like keep it keep it interesting. So not just stay in one spot. I don't know. That was a stupid question. That was a stupid answer.
No, it's not. But talking about managing time is something that really took me a lot of time to understand and start like doing efficiently, and not
Yeah.
not as much as like managing time in like, oh, like editing, finishing stuff like on time. It's more like managing my own time, and in a way that like my health is not gonna be affected, my work's not gonna be affected. Because when I jump into like the full-time world, and I started getting like a lot of jobs and a lot of opportunities, I completely forgot about like personal life, about my personal health. I was just like, oh, I just wanna work, like make money, work, do more work. And then after like 6 months, I was like, it just went by like this, and I'm like, what just happened? Like, i
Yeah.
gained i gained
Yeah.
10 pounds. I'm not working out as much as before. Like, I don't hang out with my friends anymore. I'm taking away from like some people are important in my life. I'm not like paying that much attention. It's because I got so into work mode. Oh, I want to do this so bad. And
Yeah.
that's something I've learned in the process of like me, getting the same opportunities and stuff, but being smarter about the time. It's not about just working, because like you're gonna work yourself to the ground to a point that so many other areas of your life are gonna be hurt that you're gonna completely regret it. So now I'm smarting when it comes with time, being like, hey, now I'm gonna set myself up. I'm gonna work from 9 to 2 p.m. I'm gonna make sure in the middle I have time to walk my dogs. Have to make sure I have 2 hours in the gym. When I come back, kind of like managing my time better, hitting all the factors are important in life. Like, I gotta make sure I work out, take care of my health, my mental health, my friends, my family, people that I love. Just being smarter and not thinking 100% on work, which is something that I feel like all of us at some point have had that moment that you're like 100% full gas. Like, I'm not gonna stop.
Dude, I get that a lot when I'm prepping for something. Like right before quarterfinals, um, I had to go down to Naples, and I was getting like wasn't working out as much. And I was getting really distracted anytime I was hanging out with my wife, that I was like so focused on trying to make something, like think about what I had to do when I was away for the project that I was working on for Rad, that it took me out of being able to like enjoy spending time or whatever, because I was just like so anxious, and like, you know, I want to make my projects as good as possible and as engaging as possible. But I think what people might realize is different in CrossFit than other sports is we don't really know what's going to happen until it happens. And we don't even know the workouts. Like we can't really plan, there's no storyboarding certain things.
Just adapt.
Yeah. And like going into new spaces that you've never been into and just adapting and figuring it out. Like, I don't know, there's a little bit of like anxiety around that for me with different things, with events and a lot of the types of content that I have to create.
I kind of like not going in with a plan too. Like sometimes I just come up with things on the fly, and I'm just like, oh, cool. Like I just
Yeah.
discovered that.
Yeah.
And it's that's just kind of like the creative way too, like just doing things kind of like on the fly without much planning, just letting yourself like be you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right. And yeah, that's the jobs I enjoy the most, when I can just be myself, and just
Yeah.
do my thing. um but yeah, it's just and I feel like being an entrepreneur, like a full-time creator, we're always thinking about work. It's like it's always like dude, I can be like out with my friends and I'm thinking about like something like some sort of work, or like what's happening the day before, and that's something that we gotta make sure that that just gonna, at the end of the day, it's just gonna hurt us more than anything, right? Because you're like, I mean, you're gonna burn out. That's how people burn out. It's just like, oh, I just couldn't handle the pressure. Like I'm always thinking about like what's next. And I mean, at the end of the day, like you don't have a boss, so either if you don't do the work, you're not gonna, make the money. So, but it's so important. Like that's when people ask me like now, like if they ask me for suggestions, like, hey, like I've been working a lot. What do you think? I'm like, I think that we just gotta be more, we gotta be smarter with the way that we put our day together. Like, dude, there's nothing wrong to take a vacation for a week. If you feel like you need it, take a vacation for a week. Don't look at your phone unless it's like, an hour a day to answer some emails, stuff like that. But it's very important to put your personal life and your work, you know, away if you want to have a more of a longevity in your business. Or at least that's the way I think, and that's the way it's worked for me in the past year. Like I'm definitely more aware of like work is one thing, my personal life is something different. I gotta take care of my sleep, the things that I eat, health, my friends, stuff like that.
I'm trying to do that approach this year, like just trying to build in me time, and because I massively fail at all those things you were talking about.
Mhm.
But I even sometimes I feel like I'm getting myself into a bit of a creative rut when I try to think about something original. So I actually just, if I post something on Instagram, and I hate to admit this, but I'll just post and then close the app. Like I won't even look at Justin's work or your work. Like it's not anything personal. It's just because I just need a break from it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
and I might check in like a week later or a day later and see like, oh, see if there's any comments to answer or whatever. But I also just don't want to have this constant like back and forth about this person post this brand posted, this creator posted in Europe or whatever. You know what I mean? Like it's just once I've done my business, like I just gotta like separate myself and just regain my own ecosystem back.
Yeah. No, that makes 100% sense.
Usually David posts, I look at it, I realize how good it is, and I spike my phone and walk away. New iPhones every week.
No, I was every week.
I don't even pay attention to times I post anymore. I post it if I do something at 2 a.m. I
Yeah.
post it. I'm like, I'm gonna go to bed now. Like,
Yeah, but I think I mean, I think that's something that kind of goes back to just you like not worrying about what other people are doing and you being authentic, right? Like that's, I feel like that's the thing that separates you. Is like it's you, right? It's just it's David too, like training day, like people know it right away. I feel like the more we get like attached to like, oh, whether or people are posting stuff like that, that's when you start losing your like sense of creativity, and you start like, oh, this is working for this person, they're doing this or doing that. You know, like I think it's just important to keep your own style into whatever you're doing. Obviously there's nothing wrong, dude. I Every time I see people in like other industries, like a photo of a concert, and I see like the angles, stuff like that, I'm like, oh, that would be cool if I transfer this into like CrossFit or like into something different. Like I'm always getting inspired by different things. But when it comes to like building your own brand, just being authentic, being yourself, like being different, it's what's gonna set you apart. And it's not setting you apart being like, oh, you have better quality than like David, you have better quality than Justin, or Justin, you have better quality than David. It's just setting you apart in like different areas of like of your art, if you know what I mean. It's not like a quality sets you apart, but it's more of like a style sets you apart. Did that even make
Yeah.
sense? In my mind, it did make
Yeah,
sense.
no,
Yeah.
it does make sense. Yeah. I mean, like, yeah, I pull all my influences from outside of sport.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I mean, like, the more you spend on Instagram looking at other like sports stuff, the more that's gonna populate into your For You feed or your whatever that thing's called. So I do spend a lot on my personal Instagram, which is geared towards my other interests, and that's where I'm pulling my inspiration from.
Mhm.
Whether it's intentional or subconsciously, like it'll reflect in your work, and it'll happen for everyone else too as well. If you are, you are like the surroundings that you keep and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I couldn't agree more with I've tried to disconnect myself with as much like CrossFit content as possible from a creative standpoint. Like, you know, I'm there to see my friends and support my friends, but that's not where I'm like drawing my inspirations from or like my creativity from. And
Yeah.
oftentimes it's something outside of CrossFit entirely that gives me inspiration for a new video or a type of edit or even just photo work, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's usually not within CrossFit directly.
Yeah. Peter asked, have you guys seen Michael Dalton's creative checklist? There's goal in there. He's made reels about different things he he thinks, I'm guessing, is about on projects. Yes, dude, like I love Michael. It's somebody I really look up to, not
Mm-hmm.
only because of like his creativity and like the way he does work. It's like his way of thinking, like how vulnerable he is on social media, and like how it's just like a real person. It's weird. It's like he has this approach of being very himself. And
Yeah.
I love the way he like talks about those that kind of things. But yeah, I think right now he's like on 4. He has a list, and I think yesterday he posted number 4, number 5. But yeah, if you guys haven't checked it out, like definitely go to Dalton's page. It's freaking it's gold. Have you seen it, Justin?
I've seen what he posts. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Big fan of him. He's, not that there's a lot of like unapproachable people in CrossFit, but he's one of the most approachable that I've met
Yeah.
on the media team. Him, Nico are both super, super approachable and good dudes.
Good dudes. This is so funny. Marius asked, do you guys rewatch your own content, or do you leave it alone? He says, sometimes I rewatch my reels 20 times if I'm really happy about it. I mean, I think we all kind of do, and there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong about being proud of your own work. What I do sometimes that like I watch it and then I watch it again in like a week, and I'm like, oh, maybe I could have done that differently, or oh, still really happy about it. But yeah, I mean, it's completely fine. Like sometimes like when I'm watching my reel, I'm like making sure nobody's like looking at me like, oh, he's watching his own reel.
You know
But
what though? At least you're not in it.
exactly,
You're not
yeah,
watching videos
about
of
other
yourself.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I do sometimes. I rewatch it a bunch of
I
times.
rewatch my stuff all the time, but that also doesn't account for the number of times I watch it before I post it,
Oh yeah.
which
Yeah.
is a lot as well.
Yeah.
How
David,
is
how
the
about you? David's like, no,
Um,
I
I
don't
watch
rewatch.
it. No, I watch it. I find a mistake, and then I wonder, should I just delete it and repost
Dude,
another edit?
oh gosh.
But I'm like, so much time has passed already. People are gonna get annoyed. So I was just like, fuck it, just leave
Yeah,
it.
that
I did that the other day.
I've been there too. Like you find this little mistake and you're
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
I probably nobody will realize, but it's bothering you. Like it's a little out of
yeah,
frame and you see this little
yeah.
black stripe on the you're like, "Ah, I missed it."
Yeah.
Yeah.
It happens
Um,
all the time.
do, who's this here? Corbano
I think that's Corbin from
from
Mayhem.
Ma'am. Yeah.
He says, oh yeah, that's him.
Yeah.
I guess he's going for a different name now. I oftentimes delete Instagram on my rest days. So it's gonna I've never done that, but I get what he's saying.
Yeah. I'm trying to use my screen time more. My screen time notifications of like shutting it off. Because like I'll just scroll Instagram. I hate to say this, but I'll scroll Instagram and like really not being paying attention to anything or being inspired by anything. And I think I need to shorten up the amount of time that I get before that notification.
Mm. Dude, I get lost on Instagram every
Yeah.
night, and I'm like, gosh, same
You're
Twitter.
you're you're the perfect Instagram user. They love you.
They
Yeah.
love me.
Yeah. Endless
Yeah.
scroll.
Yeah. No, I definitely need to get better with that. And in the past, people will be like, "Oh, you're always on Instagram." I'm like, "Yeah, it's my work. You know, I have a social media agency." And now I'm like, "No, that's all excuses. Like, I shouldn't be on
You're
Instagram for that
addicted.
long."
No,
Yeah,
I'm the same way. Like I wouldn't delete that because I do the exact same thing. And like I think I need to separate that from
yeah.
time to time.
The funny thing is that I don't think my feed has like much CrossFit at all. It's a lot of like memes and music stuff
Yeah.
that I get like really into it. Now that Blink-182 is touring, I get lost in like the videos and stuff. Oh my gosh.
And mine's baseball right now. Just baseball
Yeah.
highlights.
Yeah. All right. If anybody that it's live right now watching the live stream, if you have any questions, make sure you ask us right now. We're probably gonna keep it for another 5 minutes. We're gonna keep talking some stuff, and then we're gonna cut it. Just making sure I don't take too much time of Justin and David. So if you have any questions, drop them. Justin, do you got any questions on your
Uh,
Instagram?
I don't have any good ones. Um, I don't have any good ones, but what we're not the best for this. I know David isn't the best for this, but Carlos, how do you handle, and this could be a question for a lot of young creators and people doing events for their first time. How do you handle eating and drinking water and things like that when you're on assignment? Because some of these days are long, they have big breaks, but you can't really go anywhere as a creator. What do you do for that?
You don't. You don't eat. You
Yeah.
starve yourself. Now, what do I do with that? I mean, I think for me, the most important thing is by far staying hydrated. Just like, dude, drinking. Can you repeat that question? I don't know if we're talking
What
about the
like
same thing.
yeah. But like what do
Okay.
you do as a creator? Like how do you try to stay healthy as a creator when you're in that environment, the semifinals environment or
Yeah.
the event kind of
For
days?
for CrossFit, it's completely different because we really don't have much downtime. I
Yeah.
mean, depends on the assignment. But when I'm at the games, for example, I really don't eat much until that night.
Hmm.
And I've always been somebody that likes to fast, so I like it. But staying hydrated, dude, it's like so important because by like 1 p.m. you're already like, oh, what's
Yeah.
happening, So um, definitely. But I mean, luckily there's always like a bunch of like protein bars like laying around, like you get to like snack here and there. But yeah, I mean, overall, it's a tough week. I'm not gonna say that I wake up and I have a breakfast and then I go for lunch because it doesn't happen. It's not because it probably could happen. I just don't really think about it much. But at
Yeah.
night, I usually have a big dinner.
I'm like you. Like I don't even get hungry when I'm like go
Yeah,
go go. Yeah.
you
And
just drink water, whatever water they
if
have
I
there.
even remember, right? And if I do, and I'm like wondering, like, is this gonna cause me to like go pee? Do I have to leave the floor now? Like, right? Like at events, Justin's always like handing me snacks, and I'm just like, uh-huh. And I just put it in my pouch, but I don't eat it, like, because I'm not even hungry. Like, I'm just like, it just acts more like a reminder, right?
Yeah, for sure. One of the questions I got is, what's something you've learned about yourself in the past year? Let's start with David and then Justin.
Uh, um, that you're just one person. Yeah. So back to the time management thing, you just gotta like remember to just like take care of yourself. Yeah, don't sacrifice yourself too much, like to the point where like you're gonna like just suffer, right? Because guarantee you the brands don't think about that when you're working for them.
Yeah, I'm gonna double down on that, and I think spreading yourself thin with a lot of different commitments is something I've done in the past, and work definitely gets sacrificed. And for whoever you're working for, they probably want the best quality work, and if they're gonna put out the money, they want the best quality work. So I think um, doing a little bit of too much at the same time has become something I realize that I really don't want to do. I want to focus more on the things that I'm working on to make my product the best quality possible. Um, so that's the goal for 2023. Man, I was gonna say 2022, but that's the goal for 2023 is to really focus on the projects I'm working on and not try to take on too much and just level up that quality of content.
Yeah. Something I've learned, I mean, we're talking about a full year, so May 2022 through now. And I think probably a little before that is knowing or learning how to say no first when I don't feel like I'm gonna be passionate about a project. Second, when I think the brand or the client it's not really valuing my work because they're trying to like go cheaper on the quote or stuff like that. And that goes back to managing your time better. It also it helps you to realize like, hey, even though I'm gonna be, making X amount of money in this project is something I'm not passionate about. I'm probably not gonna have a good time on set. It's something it's not gonna like give me anything in return other than money.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something I want to do. Like at the end of the day, you gotta also think about it's not all about money. It's about like, hey, what's something you're passionate about, something you're gonna have fun, something you're gonna be proud of. So learning how to say no when it comes to something I don't want to do or something, or also saying no to a brand or client that I feel that they are not valuing my work
Mm-hmm.
because as I said before, like just kind of like, hey, we might that's not our budget, we're thinking about more like this. It's like, thanks for reaching out and thanks for opportunity, but that's not gonna work for me. And I've learned that since the moment you start putting yourself like your value out there, that's when brands start like, actually, well, again, using the word value, but they start putting more value on you as a creator. They're like, okay, he actually cares a lot about like his work and he takes pride, he's proud of his creativity and he's gonna put this price on him. Like, they know they're gonna get a good product if they go that way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
I think there's like a fine line between like, do you want to be a creator where you're actually creating something, or do you want to be a camera operator, right?
Mm,
Because sometimes when you're part of like a media team and stuff, like let's not label it as anything else, but you're basically just there to document something, right? So
yeah,
it's not like they're having a meeting with you one on one saying like, hey, Justin, I know you got this unique angle. I'll help you how you narrate this story. You do your thing, right? Like those
Mm-hmm.
conversations are very far and few. So you got to decide what you want to be, right? And just saying no because you want to be a creator is probably the best route for yourself and for your creative sanity too as well.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. You just gotta do things that you love, you're passionate about, and
Yep.
it doesn't matter if again, like we all of us as like entrepreneurs and like full-time creators, like at first we're thinking about like, oh, we have to make money to survive, we have to make money, but we're like, once we're in a point that you realize like, okay, money is not everything. Like if you chase the money, you're gonna start chasing jobs that are not gonna make you happy.
Yeah.
It's gonna lead into full burnout, and then you're gonna hate your career as a creator. So yeah,
Here's
definitely
a
this past year I've learned how to, start doing a lot of things that I love more than anything.
Here's a question for you guys. Have you guys actually like said no and challenged like a brand or an athlete about which type of direction you wanted to go, and like not looking for any confrontational stories, but more kind of like how did that conversation unfold, and were they receptive, and was there a good outcome?
I don't know if we're talking about the same thing, but it's happened to me a couple of times that brands reach out here for like campaign stuff or, you know, uh, really not competitions because I already have like certain amount of like brands that I work with in competitions, but a lot for campaign stuff. They're like, hey, we're trying to do this campaign. It's gonna be X amount of days. We're gonna be shooting. We're gonna need this, and I'm like, okay. So put a quote, right? Send them the quote. This is gonna be the budget for the whole campaign. And I mean, most of the time, the response that you get, it's like, oh, we were thinking that's like outside of our price range. We're thinking about this instead. And yeah, I mean, most of the time it's like, hey, thank you so much, but that's just the budget, but I can help you out finding somebody else, like different different creator that might be able to that might want to do it for that amount of money, or you know and usually they're very fine with it, like, oh, thank you so much for your time, that's it. But I try not to go either the route of like, oh yeah, I'll definitely do it for that, or go for like a rude type of you just gotta keep it professional, like just let them know that you appreciate their time for reaching out to you. It means a lot that they took you into consideration for be a part of this campaign, but unfortunately right now it's not the right time, but hopefully we can work together in the future.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had a couple of instances in the last little bit where my quote just didn't come in their budget, and it was just, hopefully we can work together one day, but right now it's not going to work out. That's happened a bunch
Yeah.
of times in the last little bit. And then I had a local gym owner. I gotta tread lightly here. Was
I might know who they are.
No, I don't think you do.
No. Okay.
No. I had a local gym owner. I sent the photos, I sent the video, and then, I'd ask them, okay, what do you want for your videos? What do you want? And then it all of a sudden came back with more content. They're like, oh, I thought you said you could do this. And, I said I'd make a video for their programs. And then turned out that they were like, oh, we have like 8 different programs. And I was like, wait, like that's not what I agreed to. And then anyways, so we worked that out. And then I sent them to the images, and they're like, we love them. They're great. And then I sent the videos, and they were like, hey, we love these. They're great. And then there was like a couple of reels that was in there as well. And then they came back and were like, these are terrible. Nobody liked your other work. And I was like, what? Like, where did this come from? She's like, all the members hated it. And I was like, okay, then, like, wow. And I was like, if it was that bad, then, oh, Carlos, we lost your camera again. Yeah. So this gym owner was like, everybody hated it. This isn't good. Your work is no good. And I was like, look, hey, this is exactly what you asked me for. I delivered it. Like, I'm sorry that that's how you feel. And I don't think it was that bad. And
Wow.
I've showed it to other people, and they're like, yeah, that lady has no idea what she's talking about.
That's the people you don't want to work with again.
No, and I will never work with them again. But I couldn't believe it. And my contact, who was the one that put us in contact with the gym, I talked to them, and they were just like, dude, this is a mess.
Yeah.
Like, your stuff is fine. It's good. Like,
wow.
so.
I always ask people for an example. Like if I've never worked with them before and they say, you want this, I said, show me an example that I have a reference point. Right.
Yeah.
And also I feel like it's also important for the people who are hiring you, either, I mean, you can say for whatever industry, for CrossFit, for weddings, they need to be aware of your work, like what it's going to look like. You're like, hey, if you're hiring me, you just got to make sure like this is probably what's gonna look like. You know, like we all have our own colors, our own style.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And that's why like having good communication before, that's something, another thing I've learned in the past year or 2 years. It's really good communication before any sort of gigs. Like you just gotta be 100% sure of exactly what you're gonna dive into. Like, hey, I'm expecting you to deliver 3 reels, this, perfect, awesome, got it. That's exactly what's gonna happen. If I over deliver from here, it's on like because I wanted to.
Yeah.
But going into a job without like just winging it, like, yeah, just get me some reels, yeah, maybe make like a little vlog, something like that, yeah, that's when issues start happening.
But
You're
you
like,
know
hey,
what
do you
though?
have, can you make another reel of like this, and how about if you, can you send me like just the raws? You're like, wait a second, what's
Yeah.
this? And it's because there wasn't good communication at the beginning of the planning, and then that's what happens.
The funny thing is, I going into it, I thought there was good communication about what they wanted, their expectations, and they brought food in for everybody. Like they did a good job with it. But after the fact, like after everything was delivered, it was a completely different reaction. And it wasn't even like initially, it was like, yeah, we love these, they're great. And then a week later, it was like, no, these are terrible. I'm like,
Okay.
whoa.
Maybe
Shut
they're
up.
trying to get a refund or something like that.
Honestly, they were trying to get me to do more work than what
I
I
was gonna
agreed
say the
to,
pro, yeah.
is what they were trying to get me to do. And
Yeah.
then, like going into it, I kind of had to lay out, like if you want me to shoot this so it goes on your website, we're going to shoot it horizontally. If you want me to shoot it so it's going to go on Instagram, I'm going to shoot it vertically. And they're like, what do you think is better? And I was like, well, what do you value more? And they said, hey, let's shoot it this way. So I shot it that way. And then when everything was cropped in, they're like, no, this doesn't look good. I'm like, but this, like I can't just like
Yeah,
redo all of this.
I think she just want a refund.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what
I
it sounds
think
like.
they
Yeah,
wanted more out of it and they wanted a refund. But yeah, Wendy said, "What the
yeah.
heck? Why would
Sh-
somebody tell a vendor?"
shout
Everyone
out to
hated it.
Wendy.
I don't know. Everyone hated it. I guess it's terrible.
I should have Wendy on the pod. I don't know if she'll want to, but
Let's see if
it'll
she
be
gives a
it'll be
thumbs up or
interesting.
not.
Wendy, if you're interested, let me know. I would love to have you in one of the episodes.
Paper Street, pull that one up.
Oh,
Paper Street's doing some cool things. I like what they're doing.
their
So shout out to
coffee
those
is
guys.
fire.
They kept me alive a little bit at Wadapalooza.
Oh yeah, dude. Yep. Um, I think they're gonna be a beach brawl, which is awesome.
You do a lot with local competitions and beach brawl and you tell
Yeah,
us about beach. I know you probably talked about this before, but tell us like what your role with beach brawl is.
I'm just a media director there. But I mean, I started, I think 2016. I was a volunteer, just uh, rolling plates. My camera's out again. I don't know what's happening.
Is it
Anyways,
overheating?
I don't think so. I think I'm just gonna put the laptop camera and we'll roll with that. There you go.
Nice.
Um, yeah, so I started in 2016 at Beach Road, just rolling plates and scoring people, timing people for the event. And the gym that I'm still a part of the same gym. They're the ones that were like putting it on until I think 2 years ago. And
Mhm.
I became really good friends with the original owner of Beach Brawl. And in 2019, he gave me an opportunity, like, hey, if you want to volunteer and just take some photos, like, yeah, do it. Like, you're fine with it. I'm like, okay, cool. So I just took photos pretty much for fun in 2019. I mean, it wasn't for fun. It was for their social media, but still, it wasn't paid. It was just a volunteer job. 2019, 2020 happens. Beach World did it get canceled? It didn't get canceled, but it was a mess. We had to move like location, stuff like that. And that was the first year that I had the opportunity to be the media director. The person that was doing it before, uh, something happens, and the owner Ty hits me up. He's like, "Hey, if you want to do it, here's the budget. You hire the people that you want." I'm like, "Cool." So I did it that year, and then after that, I took an even more important role whenever the new owner bought Beach Roll. He calls me. He's like, "Hey," his name is Brian. Awesome dude. He calls me and says, "Hey, I'm gonna be the new owner of Beach World. You already probably heard about it. Um, I want you more involved. I don't know much about the event overall, like the media and stuff like that, but I just want you more involved." So I took into more of like actual media director, kind of like almost like a consultant type of leader, like his right hand. So I mean, I manage everything that's media. I help with vendors. I help with uh, anything that he needs. So it's kind of like I feel like we make a good team. You know, it's like him. I'm like his right hand. His wife helps him a lot too. So I almost
Hmm.
feel like that competition like my baby type of deal. You
Yeah.
know, like I started as like rolling plates and stuff, and now I feel like, you know, it's like I feel like it's mine. Like people ask me like, "Are you?" It's like your competition. I'm like, no, it's not technically no, but it's like my baby. You know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah. I appreciate that. That's
yeah.
awesome.
So that's why I tell people all the time, like, listen, starting as a volunteer at something can lead to something really awesome. So there's nothing wrong about it. Like my first year at the games, I didn't get paid. Again, I always say, like, once you set yourself in the industry, once people know your work, don't keep doing stuff for free, because that's you're gonna be like, people are gonna be like, oh yeah, him, he does everything for free, you know, like. So
Yeah.
that's when it becomes a problem. But if you're starting off, you want to shoot a competition, there's nothing wrong with doing it for free, getting your experience, and then from there you can turn into something awesome.
And get your foot in the door.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I'm sure we've all done that.
Yeah. Did you like Enrique's comment here?
I don't know what he's talking about. I think it's more of a like the USB or something. USB C. Nikon will explode in 0.3 seconds. Nah, just kidding. But it's funny how a lot of people now comment stuff about Nikon to me, because I'm always like putting stories about like
Yeah.
Nikon. Yeah, it's funny.
But
I get
Enrique is like the lone Nikon guy out there, isn't he?
yeah. No,
Yeah.
there's some people. Anthony Tom still uses Nikon too.
Okay.
But I mean, again, I always say, like, I say it as a joke. There's nothing wrong about a Nikon. It's just funny.
Yeah.
It's like people have Androids. It's like it's there's nothing wrong about it, but it's just funny. Funny to make some jokes every once in a while, you know.
Yeah. And
Gosh, I was gonna say something and
oh, Wendy's a Nikon.
oh yeah. Fuck, sorry, Wendy. Go Nikon.
Just use whatever works.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, some of my favorite photographers ever use Nikon. So, but I think us three were Sony, huh?
I
Yep.
switched.
What?
To Nikon.
No, I switched to Canon.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh my god. Can I still kick him out? Wow,
The
dang,
debut next week. No, I've been using it for a bit.
that's cool. Dang, I was gonna say something, I forgot. Let me see.
Got you all sidetracked.
Yeah.
That we were all Sony.
Yeah.
No, before that. Um yeah, I don't know. I forgot. I'll probably remember right when we cut it. But yeah, oh yeah, yeah. I was gonna say that I've gotten some people like literally send me DMs like, "Oh my god, thank you so much for making me switch to Sony. It's much better." I'm like, "Oh gosh, what have I done?" It was a joke. I don't want to like influence anybody to like purchase like a different camera or something. But again, it's whatever works for you.
That's it.
I wouldn't recommend it for video. That's the only thing. I'm 100% legit on that one.
I got something else for video most of the time.
Yeah. No, no, I'm not talking about Canon. I'm talking about Nikon.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it for video. But again, whatever works for you. All right, boys. David, anything else you
Well,
want to add on?
no, that's it. Thanks for having me on. I really
Yeah, yeah. No, I
appreciate
appreciate
it.
both of you being here, and I'm sure it won't be the last time. Justin, thanks again for joining
And
us one more
thanks
time.
for having me.
Everybody that's been listening this whole time, thank you so much. Everybody in the comments too. It's been a blast. Again, if you have any questions for Justin, David, or myself, just hit us on the DMs. David's Instagram is at Training Day Media. Is that right?
Yeah.
At Training Day Media. Justin's is at Tamane Photography, and mine is Bound Media. So if you have any questions or anything, hit us up. I'm sure none of the guys will mind to answer. And again, if you enjoyed this episode, share it with somebody. It really helps like it, subscribe to the channel, or just go ahead and send us a DM and tell us what was the part that you enjoyed the most. All right, boys.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you so
All right.
much.